I'm Stefan Bauman, and I want to thank you for joining for another video. Today, you are in for a big treat. I actually hosted a brush and brunch event on Sunday morning. It's an event that I want to do once a month, and if you're interested, come on in and sign up and let me know. If you go to my website, stefenbauman.com, register for my free book there, you will automatically get an invitation to my Sunday paint along. It's definitely something you don't want to miss. Today is just the last Sunday's paint along. You're welcome to paint along with the demonstration. It's a little longer. I do interrupt it with a couple of little suggestions about what to purchase and where to purchase it at. But all in all, it's free for you. Enjoy, and I'll talk to you on the other side. Welcome. This is the first Bauman's Paint and Brunch that I've ever hosted, especially here. I am going to guarantee that you're going to leave this demonstration, if we call it, with something of value and insights and information. Mary Boudreau is the author of this book. She crafted this book. She created it hours and hours and hours. A lot of people said, "Oh, you wrote a really great book." She listened to what I had to say and she put it all together. So anyway, so let's get the important thing started. Some people said, "Well, what's a mimosa?" Well, a mimosa is champagne and orange juice. So we're going to break this workshop up with a little bit of joy and happiness. Got your orange juice and champagne together. I drink to you to a great and successful demonstration, and we will begin. Now, normally when I'm out on location, I don't use a pencil and draw. The reason for that is that when you are painting outdoors, it's very organic and you want to be able to move and things. And I have found over the years that when you put a line down on a sheet of paper, it's like you remember when you were a little girl or a little boy and your mom gave you your coloring book and she said, "Stay within the lines." And, consequently, psychologically, we kind of want to do that. And what I want you to get that painting is a spontaneous, organic thing. I am not a believer to have a picture to start off. I actually referred to this wonderful book, The Ultimate Guide to Plein Air Painting, and key one is a concept. It's a concept, it's a moment. So when we go on location somewhere, at that moment, we should be inspired. And we have to ask yourself, what inspires us? Now, what happens early in the morning is that the sun's rising, and at sunset and sunrise is the opportune time to actually get the idea or the concept or what it is that you're trying to paint. Usually it's the effect of light. The effect of light is crucial in everything. Now we're working from a photograph, so consequently, it's going to be pretty staged. So we don't have to go chasing the light. But Monet said every 7 minutes the light changes. And as we go through here, I'm going to show you some key points. They're in the book. So the reason why we are doing this is so that you can get some ideas or look at the book in a different way. Okay? So we're going to start off with a pencil drawing.
We have a question from Gina. She asks, the far mountain range seems to land in the middle of the painting vertically. Did he adjust higher or lower?
Okay. Focal point is what's crucial. That, when I look at you, I'm looking squarely at you. So when we are looking at a scene, we're looking squarely at the horizon line. Our horizon line is where our eye is. It's oftentimes best to paint a painting where the horizon line is even with your line while you're looking at that, instead of looking down or up. So we're looking dead on. It's natural for us. The composition itself would be straight in front of us. So we always want to have the central focal point close to the center. Some people want to put it into this corner or this corner or this corner. And the thing is, it's like we don't sit looking like this at things. We turn our head. So so the center of the canvas is what we're shooting for. This is a little bit to the left of that. Now, in placing the composition, and her question is perfect, perfect timing. Um, the thing that you want to do is if the light's coming from the right, you want your central focal point to be in the left. Now, the central focal point is not even in the painting yet. This is what I mean when you just, put together a concept. You have to kind of think through the keys which are in the book. Now, the central focal point is where the main thing happens, but it's not necessarily the thing. So when I'm pointing to this part of the canvas over here, you're going, but Stefan, there's nothing there. Aha. The element of light is going to be there. And we're going to put that element of light here. In fact, I'm going to show you what goes through my mind. Scary, I know, but I'm going to show you what's going through my mind when I paint, look at things, start things, how I process things. When I saw this, I said, I like this. It's simple. I didn't want to make it too complicated. And I was thinking, wouldn't that be a great place to have water to reflect? And then I went, light on water. That's always effective. So the light's going to come from the right. And right here, we're going to put in a lake back here. And there's going to be shimmering light over here, which is still within the middle third, but it's close to the middle. Contrast to those trees, that is going to be the perfect place to put a central focal point. And hopefully all of you have your sketch on, pretty much what you see there. And now we're going to go for the magic. To secure your sketch, we're going to use Aquanet hairspray, and we're going to spray the drawing so that the drawing stays. So while I'm talking through here, run to the bathroom, get your Aquanet or whatever hairspray you have, spray it, fix it, forget it. All right. I've coated everything with liquid. Liquid is my go-to color or medium that I use when I paint. It's better than virtually anything out there. And those of you who love Mirage oil, put me in your will because you have a lot of money and you want to throw it away. Liquid is actually manufactured to be actually like Mirage oil. There's no secret medium. If you're using linseed oil and linseed oil, whatever recipe you have, it's fine. It's mainly to get the juice flowing. I personally love using mimosas to get the juice flowing, but if you want to use some fancy medium, we're going to start off with what we call a grisaille. A grisaille is a preliminary painting. Now, I do this a little different and I don't go crazy. A lot of people will lay a stain over the whole canvas with a color and then work on top of it. I don't recommend doing that, especially if you're going outdoors to paint, because that color, that whatever color you choose will bleed through, but it influences all of your color decision making throughout the painting. So don't do that. We're going to be doing coating the canvas, staining the canvas, and I see some of you up on top. I see all of you. It's like romper room. I see Mary, I see Bill, I see Raja, I see Kenneth. Ken, glad you dressed up for the event. I went ahead and laid my paints out. This looks good. I got my paints out already, and we'll go through it. I've kind of cut my palette in half. And the reason why I'm using a wooden palette is that I like using them. I'm using a nice big one here so that I can hold it up to the camera so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I divided the palette so that the cool colors were over here. My warm colors are over here. I've got about 6 colors. I might be digging for another color as we go, but I'm trying to keep it simple. Over here, I've got asphaltum, ultramarine blue deep, and cobalt blue. Cobalt blue is a warm color. Ultramarine blue is a warm color. Transparent brown oxide or asphaltum or any brown that you should have will be good. It's over on this side. Over here is where the magic happens. So what's happening over here is the cool colors. And that's lemon yellow, cerulean blue, and phthalo red rose, magenta. You could use alizarin crimson. I don't like it so much because it's not very versatile. Those are cool colors. You notice there isn't a warm red. Kind of use brown as my warm red. You don't really see red in nature that much and that intensity. So, all right. So I'm going to take my warm colors, ultramarine blue, And I'm using ultramarine blue deep. There's no secrets in this. And I am going to start doing a grisaille and lots of liquid. It's going to be thin. And I'm going to start laying the grisaille in. The grisaille, normally I would be kind of loose with it because I don't usually work with lines, but I want to kind of get something on here to show you how I actually would lay it in. And it's a very, very thin wash. Now, this is where I actually will be veering off of the photograph some. Um, for the sake of the composition, this will be some pine trees over here. Now, the reason why I brought pine trees and stuff over here, there are some trees in the photograph, but I felt that they were just a little bit, if you refer to it, just a little bit lacy and not strong uh, concrete areas for making a strong composition. Plus, I also have the horizontal canvas, so I have a horizontal top. Mountains are almost horizontal, horizontal lines and mountains. Where the lake's going to be is horizontal. The land is horizontal, 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 horizontal. When you're working on a horizontal painting, you've got to look for verticals. And so these are my verticals here. These will block all these lines. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And it's just a scribble. So go ahead and just kind of very thinly. So right here, I've got a mass that I'm pulling the trees together over here because I like the way that blocks the line. And over here, I've got heavier trees to block these lines and to balance the painting. You notice that if this is the peak and this is where I need some weight or something over here that kind of plays against those shapes. Now I'm using ultramarine blue and transparent brown oxide or asphaltum. I'm just going to refer to it as asphaltum. I'm working with browns here, and I'm just kind of laying in that, where that line is kind of in the picture, some transparency. The reason why I go through this is that it kind of starts to give me the structure of what I'm going to be doing in the foreground. Some of the ideas, a lot of the stuff that I teach in my coaching is nuance painting. So if I do a line here, and it might be just a line from a brush mark or something. Later on, it might actually inspire me to put a rock here. I might say, oh, wow, that might be a good log here. This might be a good rock and stuff, but it's all nuance painting. It's like when you look at marble and you start seeing faces. And you guys hopefully are just kind of doing this with me. There's going to be no rush and pressure. If you feel a little behind or tense, have a little more mimosa. It will catch you up real quick. Okay. This color here, now the default color of shadow is a warm tone. Shadows are warm, highlights are cool. If you haven't gotten my book, I'm going to try to catch you up with some of the stuff that you don't know, and a lot of stuff you don't know that you don't know that you don't know. So I'm going to add more ultramarine blue. So the default color of shadows is between ultramarine blue and asphaltum. It's in that area. Sometimes it's a little browner, sometimes it's a little bit bluer. The two colors actually make a black. We don't use any ivory black or anything because there's no need to. The color that you make out of brown is a lot prettier and can be just as dark. The color that I'm using to block this mass in, and the shape of it doesn't really matter right now, but the color I'm using has more ultramarine blue in it. And that's because under the circumstances and the lighting conditions, and just the local color of the tree itself is going to be more of a black tone. We're going to do here, it's going to have more of a black. You can see how black that is. That's just ultramarine blue added to the brown. There's not a prettier black out there. There's no reason to have ivory black. You can get beautiful colors. And I think that's already starting to look really cool. Now, I'm going to take some of this color. A grisaille is like a preliminary drawing. if you refer to your trees, your photo in here, there's a lot of bushes in here with a lot of different values and shapes and things. And I'm just putting in little footnotes. It's not anything that's really crucial. Now, this is why I don't stain the canvas originally too, because you can't do some stuff when it's stained. And one of the things here is that I'm going to do a lighter, and then I'm going to do the same thing back here. Notice my Versailles isn't just one color. Notice that staining the canvas isn't just one color. I try to keep my palette so that my warms are all over here, my cools are over here. If you want to avoid having a muddy painting, which most of us do, you've got to keep your highlight colors separate from your shadow colors. Basically, cool colors are left separate. Warm colors is where you develop the painting. I'm Stefan Bauman, and I would love to introduce you to a new book that I just wrote on plein air painting. After 40 years, I finally sat down with one of the best authors that I could possibly imagine for this project and put together everything I know about painting outdoors. And this isn't just an outdoor painting book. No, these are techniques that you can bring into the studio, and they apply to watercolors, acrylics, gouache, and oil. You will be amazed at what you will learn with every turn of the page, every paragraph. We have worked through my videos, my information, my books, my blogs, and brought it all together. And over 2 years of editing, we brought it down to just the facts. This painting book has over 400 pages and almost 500 illustrations. If you see my videos and if you read my blog and you follow me on YouTube, you know that there's a lot of information. There's a lot of things you don't know that you don't know. I'm amazed at the quality of this book, the pages. It's a field guide. It's a book that you would take outdoors with you and paint on location. It's been organized so you could find your way through my keys. This book explains 40 years of teaching and knowledge one-on-one. All the information that I possibly know about painting is in this book. So run, don't walk, and order this book today.
Get this book. It's awesome.
This is going to be the area of water for those of you that were freaking out going, what is he saying? He's going to put a lake back there? Okay. You notice this with ultramarine blue. Getting the shadow tones, and this is, you can see now where I saw the lake. Perfect spot for it. So I take the ultramarine blue more, and since this is all going to be shadow on the mountain, so you can see my grisaille will go between asphaltum and ultramarine blue. I'm going to work around my trees, and the light's going to be coming from the right, obviously like this. I always want to try to make the foreground darker. And I'm going to make this part of the foreground more ultramarine. Okay, as if there's stuff throwing shadows into the painting. And when you're out there painting, you can see trees and stuff out there. And at some point, if the light's coming into these trees, will have an effect. A lot of times, really good judges will actually say, do I feel like this is just a whole thing just kind of put together, or do I feel like there's more going on outside of the painting? So things like cast shadows into a painting from trees or whatnot. One of my students yesterday, I said to improve his painting during the Patreon that a cast shadow of a church and a cross would make a painting, his painting a lot better because it brings more interest. So having these dark colors in here can help out. And then I'm going to make the corner over here browner. A little bit. I don't want to have that cast shadow. I don't want to have too much of that cast shadow going across. But the reason why I have that brown and that black like that, or that ultramarine, is that you want to make sure that every corner of the painting is different. You don't want to have the same thing over here that you have over here. You don't have the same color over here as you would have over here. I'm always going for the darks. Most paintings fail because there's not enough shadow. I always look for 90% shadow, 10% light. So I'm always looking to bring more shadows into the work that I'm doing. And putting in the dark, see, like right here, this is where my light's going to be on my lake. I'm going to make sure that I put that next to my dark. Okay. So,
And that's to accentuate the central focal point.
exactly. Now, why does Mary know that? Because she read my book. She didn't just read it, she wrote it too. So enough of this. We're going to move on. We're going to clean our brush, but since we're working with a limited palette, it doesn't have to be spotless. I'm going to start creating the colors in the sky. The sky, the light's coming from the right-hand side, going across to the left. Where light originates is cool and transitions into warm. You shouldn't have 1 inch that isn't going from cool to warm, dark to light. So take a nice amount of white, and here I'm going to go into my cool color, cerulean blue, fair amount of medium to make it move. And at this point, it's really hard to determine like the value that you're using. What you want to do is take your white, I'm going to put it over here, and I'm going to take cerulean blue, and this doesn't have to be super light. Now, one of the tricks that I want you guys to use, I normally don't use this when I'm painting outdoors because it's virtually impossible to get the color correct, but you could use a color checker. It's a topic that's in the book. We won't cover it. But the main thing is that the value or the color is intense enough. And one of the things that I do when I'm working with photographs and beginning students is to actually take some of that color and put it right onto your paper that you're working from. See, I put a dab, and you keep kind of adding light or dark to it till it kind of matches the value. And at some point, you won't see it. And that's a good way for you guys not to get out of control, is go ahead and just mark the photograph. I'm going to go over here, and this is where I'm going to start off with my cool color. It's fairly smooth. Remember, I actually wet the liquid originally so that while I'm painting, I can move my brush a little faster. You don't have to do it because you're working on smaller canvases. I want to make sure that I move along at a good pace. So that's going to be bluer. Now, as things come down to the horizon, they get even cooler and a little lighter. So I'm going to take my white to this color. That's why I have this palette. What's he doing? I'm going to take a little bit of lemon yellow, and I'm going to green it up. And as this color comes down towards the mountain, I didn't just add white to it. One of the issues with artists out there when they demonstrate is, oh yeah, when I come down to the horizon, just add white because the blue sky gets lighter as it gets to the horizon. It gets actually cooler. And believe it or not, lemon yellow is going to be cooler at this point. And so the lemon yellow is, changing the temperature of cerulean blue, sorry. And since I want to have the light get cooler and lighter along the top of the mountain here, now I would be doing this outdoors without a sketch. And I would have kind of, two A-frames here, and I would just be bringing this color in here. So remember, as the sky gets closer to the edge of the mountain, it gets cooler and lighter. So we're putting that in. That's kind of common knowledge. My paint is going on pretty smooth, thinly at this point. It's about the consistency of soft butter. It's not runny. Liquid has a body to it. There's a lot of liquids out there. I prefer just the standard liquid that looks, kind of like jam. It's thicker. once you start running through it, it thins out. So now I'm going to transition. I'm going from a cool color to a warmer color and a sweeter color. And that color would be cobalt blue. We're going to go from ultramarine blue, which is the darkest of all the blues, and we're going to transition into cobalt blue. Cobalt blue is a warm color too, and that color has sweeter. It's a prettier color, and it looks really good next to the cerulean blue. And you can see it's about the same value, but it's a color shift. This way, your paintings don't have to get dark in order to make them, transition. Most value painters, they go from light to dark. They just add white to their colors. We're actually changing the color to get warmer. We're going to kind of blend these out. And then I'm going to add more cobalt blue to that to slowly get darker, because the transition is going to get darker here as it gets further away from the sun. A little common sense. But as it comes down towards the mountain line, it gets cooler and lighter. Now you could see why I put that cool color in there alongside the mountain, so I could blend the warmer color into it. And this is where, kind of pay attention to your brush strokes. People go, I want my painting to be looser and have more brush strokes. Try to put your brush strokes on with interest. Make them interesting. We're going to the far end. I'm going to stick with the cobalt blue, but I'm going to warm that up with ultramarine. So it's one of the reasons why I have 3 blues. And so I'm taking ultramarine blue over here. Notice the transition is subtle. But this color isn't that color. Okay, you see? You can't just add white to your blue and think it's doing something. You have to transition your colors.
And for the viewers who are in our book club, and we just covered transitions, this is a great example of it.
Yeah, we actually had this conversation in the book club. I think if people go, oh, I don't know if I want to buy another book. I've got so many of them. And I'm like going, yes, you don't know what you don't know. And what I'm showing you right now is not common conversations in most videos. And even that light green that's going will actually get a little warmer as it gets away from. And again, fancy little brush strokes. Now, some of you are going to say, but Stefan, you should hold the brush like a toothbrush. This is the way you should hold the brush. I'm Stephen Bauman, and I would love to introduce you to a new book that I just wrote on plein air painting. After 40 years, I finally sat down with one of the best authors that I could possibly imagine for this project and put together everything I know about painting outdoors. And this isn't just an outdoor painting book. No, these are techniques that you can bring into the studio, and they apply to watercolors, acrylics, gouache, and oil. You will be amazed at what you will learn with every turn of the page, every paragraph. We have worked through my videos, my information, my books, my blogs, and brought it all together. And over 2 years of editing, we brought it down to just the facts. This painting book has over 400 pages and almost 500 illustrations. If you see my videos, and if you read my blog, and you follow me on YouTube, you know that there's a lot of information. There's a lot of things you don't know that you don't know. I'm amazed at the quality of this book, the pages. It's a field guide. It's a book that you would take outdoors with you and paint on location. It's been organized so you could find your way through my keys. This book explains 40 years of teaching and knowledge one-on-one. All the information that I possibly know about painting is in this book. So run, don't walk, and order this book today.
Get this book. It's awesome.
All right, now we are going to always work from dark to light or warm to cool. I'm going to actually warm up this side even more. I really want to make that transition. And I'm even going to go darker with ultramarine blue over here. Again, look at the brush strokes. I'm not painting in my bathroom. Back and forth. Interesting brush strokes kind of blend the color. Since we're not going blending in white, we're actually blending into another color. Since the mountain is created out of atmosphere, the atmosphere that surrounds the mountain here would absolutely influence the atmosphere that's around my mountain, causing the mountain to have more of a bluish cast. And you can refer to your photo that's included, and you can kind of see where I'm headed to. And then I'm going to be putting in the grisaille or the footnotes. These are footnotes. Remember, while we are working outdoors, uh, the light is changing and changing and changing. In the first stages of your painting, you want to be sure to put in all the elements of lights and shadows. The grisaille, okay, here's the lake. I'd probably go a little sloppier if I was working outdoors, but I still have to hold it together. And the reason why I would do that is I would wipe off where the highlights go. So let's just say I decided that, oh, the light's just stunning right now. I'm going to, I would actually take and wipe off a highlight. So if all of a sudden I feel like that, I want to change something and get the element of light coming through my painting like that, I can actually wipe the canvas off. So it's, yeah, and that's why you don't want to start off with a canvas that's already pre-colored. And I wanted to create the feeling of being at a workshop. So this is one of the places that we do go to on our workshop. And I want to do this next time just outside. There's an unobstructed view of Mount Shasta through these windows over here, and we're facing east. And it's a phenomenal view. We're just 10 miles from where I stand to the very top of Mount Shasta, according to Google, and as a bird flies. So it's really awesome. And maybe next time we meet, we'll do it out in the driveway and you get the feeling of being there on location. Notice how over here the value of the mountain and the value of the sky are almost the same. I did that purposely because that's a really strong line coming out of your canvas, and I wanted to block that. So again, warm colors, same color as the sky. I'm actually doing a transition into warmth in here. I'm thinking about light. I'm thinking about transitions. I'm thinking about shadows, warm shadows. And I'm going to take asphaltum and ultramarine. There's a little bit of white. I didn't clean my brushes at this point, so I'm working in the same over here. Notice no tricks up my sleeve. And I'm going to actually start laying in the base for this in here. Now, most oil paintings done on location are smaller. And for the most part, they're done in 2 hours. You never want to be working on a painting longer than 2 hours because within 2 hours, the light changes. Now, I chose 2 hours for this demo so you kind of feel how far we can get. I have students that when they come to my workshops, they're in a panic. They think 2 hours isn't long enough. They've never painted anything in 2 hours. And I want you to rest assured there's time. So breathe, get back and look at what you're doing, concentrate, think. For the most part, when you're painting outdoors and when you're painting nature as a whole, it really is about atmosphere. It is about getting in shadows and air to your painting. You can see the painting is already kind of developing before our eyes. And now I'm going to actually bump up into here. I'm going to take cobalt blue, still warm. And I'm going to take cobalt blue and put this edge of the mountain in. I didn't paint that low enough to my sketch. And right now, while it's wet, I want a soft edge. Oh, is there anything better than painting alla prima, wet on wet? Is there anything better than painting? your spouses don't get it, do they? There's nothing you'd rather be doing than this on a Sunday morning. Interesting brush strokes, nice application, not a lot of paint. A lot of times, artists, when they get too crazy about putting paintbrushes on, bum, bum, yeah, it's you lose the subtleties of things. And what I suggest when you're doing a painting is start off slow, be in control. 2 hours is enough time for you to paint a painting if you're just painting, and put on your colors and get it right. Make sure your values are right. Make sure your temperatures are right. Make sure you have the transitions. All the stuff that's covered in the center of this book. And if you notice where the dark is, that's where all the magic happens in the book right there. Mary designed it so that you guys can access that information very easily, and you can lay it out on a sheet of paper. You could have key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4, and there's only about 4 or 5 of those keys that pertain to your painting all the time. So it's not too difficult, but we've made it super easy for you so you don't have to think this. But I think a lot of you think that when I go and paint something that I'm crazy, that I'm just, no, calm, subtle, brush strokes, be in control. When you get it all in, then you start going thicker paint. You'll watch how we do that as we get further on. But you got to kind of have your ideas straightened out. All right. So I want to make sure that you understand what's going on here. You're going to go through the top of that tree. The transition of this is more important than that tree right now. I add a little bit more of the cerulean blue atmosphere coming down. Nothing is done. And just bringing that cool color. This is it's all warm color in here. And now I'm putting cool color, and that cool color actually, as I lay it on, just that little bit of cool color helps separate. You can see it just on the screen. Like just a little bit on top of the warm color, boom. White wouldn't do that. White, you'd actually have to increase it a lot because you're trying to change the value. I just added some of the cool color on top of the warm, and there you have it. So cool. Temperature painting is so cool. Nobody knows about it, which makes it really cool. Master this will be at the top of your class. And I'm thinking around a bit too much, but I'm going to take this cool color again, do the same thing. I'm just going to apply a little bit of atmosphere to help separate. And this is my cerulean blue and white on top of my ultramarine of white. Pop. And then blend to transition so that there's no line there. We're going to take these same atmosphere colors, ultramarine blue. We're going to darken them. And water, we're going to do the water here. Notice I haven't changed any brushes yet. You don't need a lot of brushes. The brush that I'm using is, it's a rosemary brush, 3/4 inch, mongoose, long, always long and flats. Soft brush. Now, when you're painting water, you always want to go vertical, 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 vertical. So it's like brushing your teeth. Vertical lines when you paint water. Always paint water vertically unless you're painting the ocean. But that gives the feeling of reflection, those vertical lines. And as we get towards our central focal point, which is what we want to kind of get into our paintings fairly soon, we're going to take, guess what? Yes, cool colors, lemon yellow and white. And fairly thick at this point. And I'm going to put in, add a little bit more yellow into it. I'm going to put in, that's where the highlight of, and it's going to go right up against, within the middle third of the painting. Yes, it's in the middle. This is in the middle. That's in the middle. That's how we see. We don't see like this. Cool color. That's got to be a transition. The transition of this magic here, this light coming through, this here, right this spot, that very point in the entire painting, what I'm doing right now, is the most important thing of the painting. It is vital that this be in effect.
You can already see how that the center focal point is just starting to pop out of the painting now.
Yeah, yeah, this is crucial. Do you want it over here? No. Why not? Because when we look at a painting, we get stopped here. It's just, we just stay over here. When we go over here and we pull into here, we get all the use of eye magnets. That's why if the light is coming from the other direction, which is preferred. You prefer to have your light coming from left to right, but in this particular scene, it's vice versa. The light comes in, we go this way. If the light were coming from this way, I would flip this lake and make that part of the lake. Remember, you're in charge. This is your painting. You're the captain of your boat. And when I say mimosas, mimosas it is. So like Mary said, that has to be, yeah, boom. You can see it right on the picture. Yeah. Now we're going to start putting in the area around here to help bring that out. I'm going to, it's warm colors because there's no light in here. And I'm adding some red. Now, red's not a color that's found a lot in nature, at least, for artists putting it into your painting.
Mhm.
And up to now, I've used a lot of red. I didn't say anything because ultramarine blue has red in it. Transparent brown oxide has red in it. These other colors have red in it, so you're bringing red into your painting without having it. And a good painting has red, yellow, and blue in it because that is the full spectrum of color. They're the primary colors. But ultramarine blue has red in it. You don't need to put red in everything because you already are. So, but here I wanted to go a little more purple. And I'm laying in just the base of that. If I'm plein air painting, most of my canvases are 12 by 16. When I go to the plein air convention, they're all working on these little 5 by 8s and 4 by 7s and stuff. It's like, stop it. No gallery wants those. You don't even want those. They sit in a box somewhere. And the only place you could hang them is actually in a bathroom. You don't put a living room painting with a little tiny afterthought. So learn how to paint big. And once you learn it, you can't go smaller. And when you are painting, be in control. Stay steady. I mean, look, we've been in an hour. Look at how much is done on this painting already. And I'm painting bigger. And I'm doing a lot of talking and drinking. If you go steady and you don't make any mistakes and you do alla prima, which is the right color, the right temperature, the right value, the right brush stroke, and the right edge as you go. And those are all the things that are covered in the book. You can get a lot of canvas covered, but then artists go, it's too much hassle to bring all that big equipment. I like to paint small because it's easy. You know what's easy is macrame. You could spend your whole life doing macrame. We don't do this because it's easy. It's like John F. Kennedy said, we don't go to the moon because it's easy. We go to it because it's hard. And because it's hard, it makes it worthwhile. Otherwise, you could be doing other things Sunday morning. It's got to have a challenge. This is the challenge. Cover your canvas. And I was like, whoa, that red just really made something happen. And if you notice and look at your picture, that's actually the color that's in there. Soften the edges. Now I'm purposely softening these edges. Notice that they're both the same temperature and the same value. When I did my TV show, we did the entire painting, changing of cameras, and the painting had to be done and we did all in 4 hours. Took a couple of extra hours because we first had to film all the insert shots. And second, retake. Retake. We had one camera. We had to move the camera around. The light would come in. We'd have to put so. But the painting was done in 4 hours, which means that, if you're doing a smaller painting, you can get a painting done in a shorter period of time. Can you see why you want to cover your canvas like crazy in your grisaille, trying to, lay the paint out to get started? It's like all that orange color, that pink color, all of those browns and stuff that you work with, you have to would fight. You wouldn't get these wonderful little subtleties that we're getting on this thing here. Drawing is crucial. And it is something that you kind of have to check. If you want to improve your painting, probably a good place to start would be in your drawing. I have my cool colors over here. Over here is cool colors. Over here, they're my warm colors. And over here is where I kind of mix my colors. So if I want a green, I'm gonna be taking, since all that's in shadow, my ultramarine blue and my cobalt blues. Blue and yellow make what color? Yes, green. So, and I'm going to bring in some asphaltum. So it's kind of a greenish black, warm color. I've got a little bit of yellow in there to pop it over to a green. And then I have asphaltum. And guess what? Asphaltum has red in it and yellow because it's made out of an orange. I gotta get some.
Hey, Stefan, we have a question when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Darius would like to know, how do you manage your paint thickness amount to prevent the canvas showing through when applying a brushstroke, especially when applying paint on other paint that's on the canvas already?
So first thing, I like working with really soft brushes, the Mongoose. And what he's saying is kind of like, how do you manage your brush strokes and you're putting paint on top of paint and the thicknesses of paint? Well, you always want to go, if your paint's thin, you want to apply thicker paint. If your paint's thick, you want to apply thinner paint. I haven't applied a lot of paint. It's all relatively thin. And so as I work further, I'm going to be working with less thinning agents, more thicker paints. The thickest brushy spot that you want to have in your painting would be at the center focal point. That's where the most interest should be. If I was actually doing this out of control, I would allow a lot of the brush strokes to be all over the place because that initial lay-in, this part here, if I wanted more of a brushier painted, I would be putting things in like this, and I can do that. And so I can put, but it's kind of thin, but look at the action that it has. This is when the action will show up. Okay, so you can do that. Now, when I start developing the center focal point and start working with thicker paint on top of this thin, it's like thick to lean, fat to lean. So as I get further towards this area in here, I work these colors that I'm working in on top of these. And when I get over here, I probably just leave it alone. This kind of will start to look like, if I give the suggestion that there's bushes over here and I start working over here, the brain will finish that area up as if there were more bushes. If it's the right temperature and value and the interesting brush strokes, the brain will actually see bushes in there when they're not. And when artists start with me, they go, I want to learn how to paint. I want to learn how to paint loose. I want that painterly feeling. I want the paintings that feel like Sargent. Well, part of that is the confidence of putting the initial stage right now into your painting. You saw I went from really casual to violent, not too violent, but the thing is, you start laying those brush strokes in, and as we get towards the end, you leave some of that, your painting will automatically feel like it's fairly loose. You don't want to get too loose around the central focal point because if the viewer can't make out what's going on in there, they just walk by. So you got to give them something to land. And a really good painting, I don't know how far we're going to get into that point with this, but a really good painting has all the eye magnets that bring the viewer into here. We're going to be discussing that a little bit later. But all of this stuff should be really loose and crazy because you don't want the viewer over in this corner. You don't want them over here. But over here, more blue. I don't want that black over here. I want to make sure my four corners are different. So if you look at Sargent's paintings, Bierstadt's paintings, and you go into the corners, you actually can see through that transparent, dark, warm color. Actually, at the canvas, you can see the weave. And for some of you, this is my studio. You know, this is where I'm going to be painting. I just painted it, and I want you to see the green color that's behind here. It's actually looking pretty good. That's a dark green matte color that it's about the right value. Over here, it's a little light, influenced by light, but over here, you can kind of see it's a warm, dark green tone. That's the color you want your studio to be. If you notice, there's no line out here. It's part of my eye magnets, part of my scheme.
Can you say that again? There isn't what there?
There's no lines. There's
Line.
a
Okay.
line of this mountain.
Yeah.
Out here, there's no, look at it, it's all just transitional keys in there. Part of keeping your painting looking loose is not putting all of the lines. Remember, this is all bushes and greenery and manzanita. So we need some base colors in there. Remember, the default of shadow is brown, asphaltum, and ultramarine. So I'm putting in a lot of interesting brush strokes. And I'm not even paying attention to what it is that I'm painting. I'm just putting in hexes and X's. I'm Stefan Bauman, and I would love to introduce you to a new book that I just wrote on plein air painting. After 40 years, I finally sat down with one of the best authors that I could possibly imagine for this project and put together everything I know about painting outdoors. And this isn't just an outdoor painting book. No, these are techniques that you can bring into the studio, and they apply to watercolors, acrylics, gouache, and oil. You will be amazed at what you will learn with every turn of the page, every paragraph. We have worked through my videos, my information, my books, my blogs, and brought it all together. And over 2 years of editing, we brought it down to just the facts. This painting book has over 400 pages and almost 500 illustrations. If you see my videos and if you read my blog and you follow me on YouTube, you know that there's a lot of information. There's a lot of things you don't know that you don't know. I'm amazed at the quality of this book, the pages. It's a field guide. It's a book that you would take outdoors with you and paint on location. It's been organized so you could find your way through my keys. This book explains 40 years of teaching and knowledge one-on-one. All the information that I possibly know about painting is in this book. So run, don't walk, and order this book today.
Get this book. It's awesome.
See, I'm kind of, every brush stroke should be a little bit different. And again, as we go into here, transitional change, going from warm to cool. I purposely have no real line on the outside of the canvas. This kind of disappears. I put in some cool in there to show you how that goes, but I could pull that back in. I'd like to get rid of that spot right there. I'm going to try to keep the viewer in here. This painting is 18 by 24. You're doing a 12 by 16. Some of you are working smaller that I see. 12 by 16 is like this. If you're working on a 12 by 16, this would be like 9 by 12 or 14 by 18. There's a smaller section in here. This is actually all you need to get down on location. And if you really want to get down to it, what needs to get down on location is this. If I nail that and clean that up right there, the painting would almost look down and it would give you that really loose appearance. I do like this lighting coming in here. It's not on the picture, but it speaks to me. I want to kind of get a little bit of a light action in here. Okay. Do a little paper towel action too. Why not? if there's an interesting thing happening in the base color there, it'll make an interesting paint. You don't want your size to be flat and boring. And again, for those of you who tuned in late, you said, but my picture doesn't have a lake in it. What is he doing? That's artistic license. And after long and hard consideration and talking with Mary, I said, if anybody reads the book, there is an artistic license in back. There you go. I grant you an artistic license. After watching this, get the book, come to a workshop, and get it signed to make it official. You don't get an artistic license for free. First, you had to buy the book, and now you got to get to a workshop. But it's well worth it because by the time you end the workshop like we're doing here, you'll deserve an artistic license.
How do you keep the faith when it's looking like a hot mess? Do you just keep telling yourself to trust the process and keep at it? I feel like it's a constant battle. One minute you might think it's looking okay, then you do a bit more, then you hate it again, and it's just a never-ending cycle.
Welcome to painting. That is, when Matt Smith, who's one of the top plainer painters, he got out there, and I should have started my workshop. Next time I'm going to start my workshop like this. I'm going to come out and say, I'm going to demonstrate to you today incredible artistry, talent like you cannot believe, the possibility of being in the presence of God. I'm going to demonstrate that I control everything and my life is grand and you will never have it. I'll just scoff at you. Or I'll mess it up with a capital F and have to wipe it off. That's just the nature of it. I mean, when you go play golf, you have intentions to golf at 19, and you're lucky if you can get it under 100. It's the dream. It took me 10 years to leave a location. Even while I was teaching this stuff, but it took me 10 years to leave a location with a painting that fulfilled my expectations. And the reason why you are never going to fulfill that hot mess is that as you get better, the hot messes get more complicated and your sights are higher. You say, oh, I could do that, but I want to do this. Somewhere you're going, but Stefan, I could get here. So because your sights are already high, somewhere you're going, I can't do this. But, that's the purpose of learning something. The process of learning something is to continuously set goals. And one of the goals that you want to set is that once you reach a set of satisfaction, don't be, because you'll stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
And when that feeling happens, it's always good just to turn the painting around from you, be thankful that you had an opportunity to do something that very few people can do, conquer, or even try. All of you have friends that go, I don't know how you do that. I could never think of doing something like that. All of you are doing something that is really, really hard. And when you actually reach that point that you can actually even get to this point, it's like, whoa, it's awesome. And when you think about no matter what, this painting is going to be around forever because people don't throw away paintings, even if they're awful. They'll donate them to the thrift shop. And that's not a bad thing because I've been painting for over 40 years. And I've got paintings that are popping up at thrift shops that I've sold for thousands of dollars. And I get phone calls from people and they go, you know what? There's a painting here at the thrift shop and it's for $12. And they'll tell me, and I go, oh my God, I sold that for $4,000 back 30 years ago. They'll always be around. And after 100 years, they'll collect all of your work again and have a one woman or a one man show. You don't get that from doing macrame. So you pick your battles. If you have an area of your palette and you've got warm colors, and this is cool, but I want to make sure there's no warm colors around here because we're going to start painting the mountain. This is actually the first point where we're actually painting with intention. Because when we start putting in highlights, That's where we actually is where the painting meets the road. Painting thicker paint, taking a highlight color, lemon yellow and white, just a tad of magenta, phthalo red rose, permanent red rose. It's a good idea also to freshen up your linseed oil. If I were working on a smaller palette at this point, I would clean my whole palette up. And I've watched Richard Schmidt paint and Matt Smith paint, and one of the things that they will do, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of people fail at doing plein air painting outdoors, is that they insist on never cleaning their palette. And they'll paint themselves into such a tight corner. But Richard Schmidt, Matt Smith, all these really great painters, 2 or 3 times they usually paint on glass, and usually they'll take a scraper and with a razor blade, and they'll scrape all the paint aside, and they'll squeeze out fresh paint. Paint like you're a millionaire. Paint with a lot of paint on your palette. Big size quarter or 50-cent piece. Lay them out because you could see this is already contaminated. When I made the green, I went into my yellow with a warm color. Yeah. So lemon yellow, and there's just a tad of warm color. So these are nice, cool, thick brush strokes. The effective light should always be clean, and it should always be painted with thick intention. And a lot of people paint Mount Shasta as if it looks like a pointed house, and that's not Mount Shasta. And you come all this way for a workshop, and you want to go home with something that looks like Mount Shasta. Okay. I'm Stefan Bauman, and I would love to introduce you to a new book that I just wrote on plein air painting. After 40 years, I finally sat down with one of the best authors that I could possibly imagine for this project and put together everything I know about painting outdoors. And this isn't just an outdoor painting book. No, these are techniques that you can bring into the studio, and they apply to watercolors, acrylics, gouache, and oil. You will be amazed at what you will learn with every turn of the page, every paragraph. We have worked through my videos, my information, my books, my blogs, and brought it all together. And over 2 years of editing, we brought it down to just the facts. This painting book has over 400 pages and almost 500 illustrations. If you see my videos, and if you read my blog, and you follow me on YouTube, you know that there's a lot of information. There's a lot of things you don't know that you don't know. I'm amazed at the quality of this book, the pages. It's a field guide. It's a book that you would take outdoors with you and paint on location. It's been organized so you could find your way through my keys. This book explains 40 years of teaching and knowledge one-on-one. All the information that I possibly know about painting is in this book. So run, don't walk, and order this book today.
Get this book. It's awesome.
So checkering is putting light colors behind dark, dark upon light. You've heard students and teachers use that. In the book, we have a chapter on it. It's so important. I don't know where my book is. But it is so crucial. But I want to point out, where I would use that right here. This is kind of an important part of the painting. So what we want to do is actually get a warm color. This is going to be cobalt blue, kind of thinly. And you see, look at how that mountain, really pops off of the photograph. And that's because that's a cool color. That's a warm color. Remember, we put cool colors alongside the mountain. I want that to pop. And so I'm going to take a warm color right here next to the peak. Oh, look at that. Look at how just that temperature change right there. Huh? See how that pops, makes that cheek pops out like that peak? And right here, this is crucial. Cool color against the warm color. here, warm color, cool color. As we reach the top of this peak, right where that light ends here, look at the sky gets darker. I don't necessarily leave my central focal point till last. Another key about keeping your paintings loose. If I save that till later and didn't put it in when I did, and working on it as I am going to be working on it here shortly, the rest of the painting gets too tight. I keep on putting details and details and details and details. I had to put a lot of detail in here, so I slowed down. But as the more I refine the central focal point area, the less I have to refine all this. And so if I can get the center focal point of the painting to look pretty good. I'm Stefan Bauman, and I would love to introduce you to a new book that I just wrote on plein air painting. After 40 years, I finally sat down with one of the best authors that I could possibly imagine for this project and put together everything I know about painting outdoors. And this isn't just an outdoor painting book. No, these are techniques that you can bring into the studio, and they apply to watercolors, acrylics, gouache, and oil. You will be amazed at what you will learn with every turn of the page, every paragraph. We have worked through my videos, my information, my books, my blogs, and brought it all together. And over 2 years of editing, we brought it down to just the facts. This painting book has over 400 pages and almost 500 illustrations. If you see my videos and if you read my blog and you follow me on YouTube, you know that there's a lot of information. There's a lot of things you don't know that you don't know. I'm amazed at the quality of this book, the pages. It's a field guide. It's a book that you would take outdoors with you and paint on location. It's been organized so you could find your way through my keys. This book explains 40 years of teaching and knowledge one-on-one. All the information that I possibly know about painting is in this book. So run, don't walk, and order this book today.
Get this book. It's awesome.
We're going to start working on the trees. Always start off with, and yes, I'm using the same brush again. Important, and I can't tell you this, doesn't have to be a line. Don't use a ruler. You notice, and it when you're doing stuff like this, even if you just tap the brush on its side, using the corner of the brush, nothing fancy, and the paint's wet. Try to do that with your acrylic paints at this point. And you can just kind of blend and softening the edges, softening the edges, softening the edges. I'm handling the mass of the tree first. I'm not working from top to bottom, bottom to top. I'm kind of working the masses. So like right in here, I want to let some of the mountains show through. I want to, the biggest fault that a lot of people have when they're doing trees is that they make it look like it's a cookie cutter. Every one of these trees, because I live in the trees, have their own drama. They're just like human beings. It's like everybody pops out the same, and then they get influenced by family, and trees are influenced by the trees that are around them. And then there's always kind of a really pain in the ass kid, just like there is with trees, and the trees start to lean a little, and then all the other trees start to get away from them, just like with family. And so, you know, and then the rains come and they beat, and that's kind of like society saying, you're not good enough, you're not going to be an artist. And so they start going like this, and then the trees start to lose their limbs, and oh my God. So no trees are alike. And then the species of trees. And like in a place like this, you could have 4 different kinds of pine tree. And here, where I've got all that light shining through, I'm going to use that light because it's interesting. I'm going to use that light to create a little more drama within the tree, a little more history. I'm going to go out from the tree out here and try to leave that part of the tree showing in there. Just because I have that backlighting, I get an opportunity to kind of do that. Uh, the thing, so much of this is by gosh, by golly. Remember I told you about my butt cheeks? They're tight. My toes are curled. And with one brush stroke, I could have this wonderful intention of having beautiful light shining through and all this stuff. And one brush stroke, that could go away. And, so I'm always at that point of, oh shit, oh shit. And all of a sudden I go, oh wow, that turned out. That's pretty good. You know? But it's the silhouette of the tree. So in the book, we talk about the quintessential shapes. So we need to do the quintessential negative shapes. As artists, we have to know there's all kinds of facts that kind of help us with thinking about things, but they're nature things. If you have a tree, the south side of the tree is actually bigger than the north side. So the north side of the tree will have less foliage on it, and the south side of the tree will have more. So it's quite common to have. So this mountain faces north south here. This tree, this side of it faces south because that's the direction that the light comes from. There would usually be more foliage on trees. Now, who would know that? People who cut down trees, because they always go to the south side of the tree because it will fall to the south side more because of the weight of that tree on that side. Fun little facts, but when you're painting, kind of good things to know. Okay. Now remember all of those preliminary brush strokes that I said, they will actually be part of it. Look at how all of the foreground just feels like bushes by just putting in a few little highlights along the tips of them. One of the things that we could do too, when we're doing detail like this, is take a knife. You can only do this when you are working on wet canvases. So if you don't have a color, if you would have toned the canvas, you can't scratch these branches and because it wouldn't show up. But when you have wet paint like this, you can scratch the detailing. I'll also put in some scratches of paint here. Now, normally, if you're a plein air painter and you finish the painting, because you shouldn't sign the painting before it is done. But if you are, really a master painter and you're going to sign the painting, you did it all in one setting, you would scratch your name into the painting. Go. This is the first brunch, paint and brunch and I'm so excited that it kind of worked. There's been no disasters yet. And it's Mercury retrograde and people are saying, don't do it, don't do it. But I'm going to have another mimosa. You guys, I can't tell you how excited I was when I saw all the people sign up for this. All of you are going to get a video if this all works right. I have all of your email addresses. If for some reason we didn't get to your answers or questions, but wait, there's more. So we will do this again and again and again and again. I love it. I love being with my students. I love coaching. I have Patreon. If you haven't bought the book, go to my website and buy it because once a month, every fourth week, we have a book club meeting, which is free if you buy the book. If you are interested in getting your work critiqued, Patreon is the next step. I have podcasts that you could listen to while you are painting. And of course, you can always call me and set up coaching because you can do this. It's not that hard. Now, see what a special treat that was. You can participate by going to stephanbauman.com. When the pop-up window pops up, just put in your name and address. You get a free book on painting, and you will be invited for our Paint Along Sunday Brush and Brunch events. If you want more information or if you're interested in coaching, give me a call at 415-606-9074. And I want to thank you for participating in this wonderful event. Hopefully I see you at our next event. Always remember that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But bears will kill you. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for joining us. I'm Stefan Bauman, and I would love to introduce you to a new book that I just wrote on plein air painting. After 40 years, I finally sat down with one of the best authors that I could possibly imagine for this project and put together everything I know about painting outdoors. And this isn't just an outdoor painting book. No, these are techniques that you can bring into the studio, and they apply to watercolors, acrylics, gouache, and oil. You will be amazed at what you will learn with every turn of the page, every paragraph. We have worked through my videos, my information, my books, my blogs, and brought it all together. And over 2 years of editing, we brought it down to just the facts. This painting book has over 400 pages and almost 500 illustrations. If you see my videos and if you read my blog and you follow me on YouTube, you know that there's a lot of information. There's a lot of things you don't know that you don't know. I'm amazed at the quality of this book, the pages. It's a field guide. It's a book that you would take outdoors with you and paint on location. It's been organized so you could find your way through my keys. This book explains 40 years of teaching and knowledge one-on-one. All the information that I possibly know about painting is in this book. So run, don't walk, and order this book today.
Get this book. It's awesome.